That's what I say. Okay. I said, but it looks different.
Yeah, we put that, we put the second out. My table.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Next one,
It was there. It was the instructions there. All the guys are there. What's up? Good.
I got you. I saw you so many years ago, right? I said,
No. Yes, you did. Yes. Thanks. Let's remove it already. Okay, yeah. That is it. That's it. That's it. Yeah.
So every person here is trying to. Every person here is trying to.
Absolutely. More right. Yes. What I saw.
Oh, yes. Yes. States.
of course. Because it's treated
Yes. Good. Yeah, man. Nice.
We're bringing
You can move it down.
How did we get I think I'm using this is my I'm just
Last thing, 20.
people and all.
Yeah, but I I was very nervous.
Yeah, too much of that school out just from your thing in out every message.
Also studying there.
Hmm? No. I work in while I.
Oh no, I see the book. So
Oh no, my notes.
oh, that's a note.
Yeah.
It's like an accounting text.
He's representing
Two minutes.
yeah. So it's distributed like yeah, yeah.
I think you like to
Because an additional cost. For every purpose. Well, you can have But it's easy for my parents will
Yes, good.
Yeah.
Before you didn't have that.
Yeah. Get something to car. Whatever it is that it's called.
Yes, it's good. We represent yes, it's going to be the agenda. And also the continuous. Last one, Jairus, do some the last one. Yes. All right. Okay, that's it. Jesus. Okay. That's indigenous. That's indigenous. Okay, we're about to start, so can you please stand? And we'll start with the national anthem.
One
Thank you, and remain standing as I ask Mr. Lugay to lead us in prayer. Mr. Lugay. Yeah, come.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the gift of life, for sparing us for another day, another year. You said in your word that if we would acknowledge you, you would direct our path. So at this time, individually and collectively, we acknowledge you in this meeting tonight. We pray for clarity of thought and presentations by all who will present tonight, those present and those who will join by Zoom. We pray that you bless this gathering, bless each and every one of us. All of this we ask in Christ's name and for his sake. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Lugay. You can have your seat now. Good night, and let me welcome you here at the PSU conference room. And let me also welcome those presenters who are online, who will be presenting a little later tonight. We're here because of serious situation affecting our country and our people. You heard in recent time that the United States have placed visa restriction on Dominicans who may wish to visit the United States. And of course, you heard that, well, the visa restriction would have commenced on the 1st of January, and then you heard of visa bond that would commence on the 21st, I think, of January. And you heard the amount that was put up, that people has to put up, in the region of 5, 10, and 15,000 US dollars. Now, of course, Dominicans look at the United States as a place where they go to study, they go and visit friends, relatives, family members, and of course, sometime to apply and obey the laws of the United States by becoming citizens there so they can work and earn. And today we are stressed with these news of visa restriction and visa ban on Dominicans. Now, this is not a matter only for the government. It's a matter for every Dominican, irrespective of what party you support or what religion you belong to. It is a situation where the world, as you know, has become a very small place, and therefore whatever happens in Dominica and elsewhere, everybody knows, and we know as well what happened in other places. So therefore, the United States and others must see that we as a people are interested in our business, in our affairs, and what has happened in terms of the ban and the bond is not of the making of the people of Dominica. And therefore, we as Dominicans must demonstrate openly and willingly to the world that we are not happy about this, and so on. Some may want to put their party before their country, but it's always wise to put your country before your party. Party comes, party goes, but your country remains, and so on. So the ERC, with the leaders of the opposition parties here, have decided that to have this discussion tonight, where you can hear from the leaders of the opposition parties, and also you could hear from Dominicans who live abroad and have always shown their interest in Dominica and what happens to Dominicans. And therefore they'll be speaking to us a little later. And of course we have a special guest, Tamika Jude, a Dominican, of course, based in the United States, immigration lawyer, attorney, and therefore she'll be our guest tonight to talk to us, and she'll do this as well via Zoom. So I think we're going to have a good night tonight. You listen, and I also want to welcome those of you who are listening in Radio Land, and those of you on other platforms like DNO is here with us tonight, and other platforms are here, and MO News as well are here with us. So of course, what we do here, and DBS is here as well, what we do here will go far and wide, because it is not a partisan political matter. It is a matter for a people that is affected by this decision. And also we'll talk about the fact that the Prime Minister has, based on what he said to us, has agreed with the United States to accept third country deportees into our country, and no preparation has been made for this, and so on. So there are a lot we'll talk about tonight, and to start up tonight, we will invite, who is on Zoom as well, Crispin Gregoire, who is a Dominican, who is well versed with diplomatic matters. He served as Dominica's ambassador to the UN. He's well connected in the United States, in Washington, and knows a number of those persons there who are in position, who are in authority. And therefore he'll give us basically an appreciation of how things are, how it came about. And you will hear the theme that we have tonight: how did we get there? And how are we going collectively to get out of there? So this time I'll ask our brother here to bring in, so let's go ahead.
Okay, good evening, Chairman Johnson Boston. Good evening to all of the members of the ERC, Electoral Reform Coalition. Good evening to our special guest, Tamita, Jude, and everybody else who will speak this evening. I have the great honor to start the body, and I want to give a perspective that will sort of give you a backdrop to this situation that we find ourselves in. Let me not be remiss in saluting all the people who are attending at the DPSU, and all of the people who are following this broadcast tonight of this very important meeting of the Electoral Reform Coalition. I want to sort of give a historical context, because we are exactly in this year, January of 2026, we are beginning the second quarter of this century. And what's important is that we have just witnessed now the first quarter of this century as regards Dominica. We had an election in 2000 that brought the Dominica Labour Party to office. And it's now 25 years that the Dominica Labour Party is in office. So a quarter of a century is gone. And now we find ourselves beginning the second quarter of the century with sanctions and the image of our country eternally tarnished in the international community. Ladies and gentlemen, I should say that in the 47 years of political independence, as some of you know, and those who are not too young to know, we've had 4 governments led by 4 different political parties. The Labour Party government of the late Honorable Patrick John took Dominica to independence, and immediately after independence in the following year, the government imploded. And we ended up with an interim government, a multi-party government, led by Honorable Oliver Serafin. And that government was made up of people from different parties and also from civil society. And that government aim and goal was to prepare Dominica for elections in 1980. And that did happen. And that election brought to power Dave Eugenia Charles's Dominica Freedom Party, and they were in government for 15 years. And then succeeded by the United Workers' Party government, led by the Honorable Edison James. That government lasted for 5 years, or 4.5 years, as some people prefer to say. And the Labour Party that won the election of 2000, led by the late Honorable Rosie Douglas, whose demise came while he was in office. And then his successor, Pierre Charles, he also died in office. And that led to the current Prime Minister, Roosevelt Skerritt, excuse me. And he's been Prime Minister for 20 years, going on 21 years. So the Dominican Labour Party has had the longest tenure in governance in the post-independence era. That's the longest serving government, and I just wanted to run through a few things that happened under this Labour Party government, just to give you a perspective that we don't always focus on. And this is by no means a total list, but I just want to give you some highlights of what this government was able to achieve. First, they ratified the Inter-American Charter on Democracy, and that happened under Prime Minister, I believe Prime Minister Pierre Charles, because Rosie Douglas was deceased by then. Then under Rosie Douglas, and maybe Pierre Charles, either one of them, Dominica joined the International Criminal Court, being the second country in the CARICOM to do so. And I remember very, very well going to these meetings in Geneva, in The Hague, Netherlands. Every year, the time I was the ambassador to the UN, I was also the representative to the International Criminal Court. And it was quite an honor, I should say. Then Dominica adopted in 2004 the One China policy of by the Dominica government. Then there was an expansion of diplomatic relations in all regions of the world, and that has gone on for the last 25 years. Dominica was the first country in the CARICOM to join the Bolivarian Alternatives for the Americas, called ALBA, the acronym, and the PetroCaribe program of the Venezuelan government. Further, Dominica's economic citizenship program, which was started under Prime Minister Mary Eugenia Charles, that program actually went through different iterations. One of them is under the United Workers' Party. They introduced what was called the Re-Engineered Economic Citizenship Program, pivoting the focus of the program towards Eastern Europe and Russia. And that grew, and then when this government came into office, they continued to build the economic citizenship program until we reached a point where it allowed for an agreement with the countries of the area called Schengen in Europe. There are 27 countries in Schengen, and it allowed us visa-free entry into Schengen countries. So we could travel to Schengen countries without visa. And that's important for the citizenship program because that allows it to grow significantly in leaps and bounds. And then I should mention that during this time of this government, with Dominica improved its air access, first with night landing, and then now with direct flights to the US, which I think is a significant and important development. And our tourism numbers have shown a growing trend since Hurricane Maria. So could be much higher, and I think that more marketing needs to be done, particularly in Europe, but our numbers are growing. And then, but there are concerns, especially with the CBI, with a total dependence now, or almost a near total dependence, where 60% of our national budget comes from the CBI program. And that is a real serious concern, and we'll talk about that later. And then I wanted to mention something significant that happened, that since 1979, the year after we got independence, we recognized the self-determination and independence of a country called Western Sahara, which remains to this day the last colony in Africa. It used to be a Spanish colony. We've always supported the independence of Western Sahara, going back even before 1979. But I should mention that Prime Minister Oliver Serafin was the first to recognize the Western Sahara, right? And it is, and Miss Charles supported it throughout her 15 years. The government of Edison James also recognized that, supported that, Rosie Douglas and Pierre Charles. And later on, in 2010, Dominica ended the recognition of the Western Sahara Liberation Movement called the Polisario. I wanted to mention that. And worst of all, when one country in Africa decided to help Dominica with aid, the government of Dominica never signed that agreement, which was given to them by the government of Algeria. And I wanted to put that on the record. And two other things I wanted to mention. One good thing, Dominica opened its doors to Haitian refugees, but I think we could actually open our doors a little more to the Haitian refugees. And that we've signed protocols for free movement of peoples with Barbados and St. Vincent. I believe there may be a third country. I'm not sure if it's Belize, but correct me if I'm wrong. I want now quickly now to pivot to where we are and where we found ourselves very recently, December 2025 and January 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, listening and following this program, I want to tell you, and some of you already know that on the 16th of December 2025, President Donald Trump of the United States, in his proclamation entitled Restricting and Limiting the Entry of Foreign Nationals to Protect the Security of the United States. That is the title of the proclamation. And the thing that struck us about that proclamation is that Dominica is mentioned in the proclamation. And the specific mention in the proclamation is that Dominica is now a country that is banned for travel by the United States. And that is travel from Dominica to the United States is now severely restricted. And I know that our guest speaker will speak in great detail to this proclamation. But in addition to the proclamation, the government of the United States has now put on Dominica a second sanction. So the travel ban is one. The second sanction is that a bond is required for visa applicants from Dominica and Antigua and Barbuda, effective the 21st of January 2026. That's coming very soon. The proclamation of the 16th of December put the travel ban on Dominicans from the 1st of January. So I just wanted to note that. What does the expanded visa bond policy? we are one of 38 countries with bond requirements ranging from $5,000 to $15,000. This policy aims to address what the US says is high visa overstay rates and is effective for B1, B2 non-immigrant visas. Nationals from these countries must post a visa bond to ensure compliance with visa terms. The bond amount is determined by consular officers during the visa interview process, and paying a bond does not guarantee a visa will be issued. So starting on January 21st, 2026, the visa bond policy is expected to apply to a total of 38 countries. Several of these nations being added to the visa bond also fall under the Trump administration's partial travel ban, a list that was expanded in December 2025 and narrowly limits the types of visas issued to those nations' citizens. So this is where we are. Our relationship with the United States now has problems, and problems that need to be fixed. And I'm sure the special guest will speak specifically to how this is affecting Dominicans at home and in the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude by saying that we need to attach great importance to these developments, because our country is now singled out as a pariah state. And people are asking, here in the US, a lot of Americans are asking, why did Dominica find itself there? And I want to say a little bit about, before I end, why we got there, just to give you a snippet. It is not all the CBI that is part of the problem. There's a whole range of problems that Dominica has. What I call maladministration from this administration. First of all, the CBI program has tremendous deficiencies, or many deficiencies. Yes, it has brought money to Dominica. Yes, some people are saying, if not what? If not passports, tell me what? If not CBI, tell me what? Well, look at where CBI has gotten us. Into the black books of the United States. Totally not a good place to be. Why? Okay, so the CBI has not been managed properly, and the CBI has deficiencies. One of them being, well, two things that the United States has put forward. One is that we've issued passports to people in fake names. So there are people running around with Dominican passports. That's not their name. And the second thing is that there is no requirement by the Dominica CBI program to have these economic citizens be resident in Dominica or have any association with Dominica. You can get a passport, you don't even have to set foot on that island, you will get a passport. The Americans are saying that's unacceptable. And there is problems with democracy in Dominica, which is noted by the international community. The United Nations Human Rights Council knows about it. The United Nations Human Rights Committee is very well versed with it. The Inter-American Commission on Human Rights is very well versed in it, and they put out the report in April of 2025. And I want you to go and read that. Just Google Inter-American Commission on Human Rights report on Dominica, and you will get that report. And it's a damning report about our democratic process. And the other thing is that there are major problems with the accountability of the finances of the CBI. We don't know where the CBI money is. It's in the hands of developers, but we don't know who has how much. And I should say too, in the hotels that have been built with the CBI money, there's a lot of corruption. There is money that's not accounted for. A good example is the Kempinski Hotel, now called the Intercontinental. I would like to ask Range Development, how much money did they earn from selling passports, and how much the hotel cost, and how much did they pocket? And did any politicians get any tip under the table? These are the kind of questions that need to be answered. And I want to highlight one last thing, Mr. Chairman, before I end. And that is, we gave diplomatic passports and diplomatic appointments to undesirable people, like the oil minister of Nigeria, Miss Alison Madueke. We gave a diplomatic appointment and to an Iranian spy, an Iranian intelligence officer from the Revolutionary Guards of Iran. His name is Ali Reza Monfared, and those of you who know the song My Dominica Trade House, it's well illustrated. His story is well illustrated in that song by Pat Aaron, written by Pat Aaron and sung by the King Dice. So these are some of the things, these are the blemishes that this government has put on our country that has led us to where we are. And Mr. Chairman, I will end here. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Good night.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Crispin Gregoire. We're moving right along, so I now will invite Carlos Charles, is the leader of Team Unity Dominica. So, Mr. Charles.
Good evening, everyone. First, let me thank Mr. Johnson Boston and the other members of the ERC for the invitation to present here. Excuse me? Okay, yes.
Is that the same phone you're watching the program on? Or your computer?
Computer.
Well, that was Crispin's coming on party, boy.
Can I continue?
Huh? I said that was your coming on party.
I think you have to mute someone. Yes, so let me preface TUD's statement by stating that our party's position is not necessarily part of a coordinated effort or to demand or to promote any cause, party, or person. We are, however, hopeful that opposition political interests will muster the will to harmonize a meaningful, progressive, strategic, alternative agenda to replace the governing incumbent. Ladies and gentlemen and fellow Dominicans listening, TUD identifies with your fears and disappointment following the recent imposition of visa restriction on Dominica. We understand the uncertainty which this created and the difficulties that it brings. Your concerns are legit, merited, and we see a path towards resolving this and other issues of governance of our country. I could show up here today and come with a fiery speech laced with partisan rhetoric that paints the present administration as the antithesis of progress. But what good is that going to do? No amount of politicking by any one of us will absolve us from the present predicament. the only and best resolve that we need to do is put a new government in place. Ladies and gentlemen and fellow Dominicans listening, you are prepared to elect a fresh group of administrators. And of course, I would like to present TUD for responding to the call. We do not point fingers and we do not wallow in a conundrum of blaming and shaming. We are aware that what Dominicans need now more than ever is hope. With hope, anything and everything is possible. We hear you, Dominica. We know that you are fed up and you have had it with the political narratives. You had it with the politics of yesteryear and you just want progress. TUD joins you in this quest. We are a party of hope, unity, and progress. Now here's what we can do. Let us put our efforts and energies into changing the current government. When we do, Dominica's visa status will be restored. We will renegotiate the arrangement which the current government has made. We will ensure that the country works for all. Of course, we will streamline Dominica's CBI program in a way that the program benefits Dominica and Dominicans more than it currently does. We will establish greater relations with our immediate neighboring countries north and south of Dominica, that is Martinique and Guadeloupe. And we will forge bilateral and mutual arrangements with the US, Canada, the UK, and other countries of Europe, China, and the other countries in the Pacific Rim. Cuba, Venezuela, and our sister islands in Latin and Central America, and of course we will restore credibility in Dominica's citizenship by requiring CBI citizens to reside on island and invest in the productive sector, culture, agriculture, music, of course, our bouillon and calypso, and of other various entertainment, nature, agro-tourism, and we'll create a new frontier of economic prosperity supported by the establishment of more family units and a housing revolution to address the issues associated with the current housing revolution. Dominicans, to fix this predicament, it's easier than we think. We simply need to replace the government officials with people who have fresher and more progressive ideals and will restore the fortunes of our blessed nature isles. The issue of third country US deportees, of course, it's serious, but we believe that our government had little or no choice in the matter. This is mainly due to what some may say are unforced errors with the CBI. However, we cannot go back and expect to move forward. When a new government is elected, we will renegotiate this present arrangement. In fact, you, the people, are the main stakeholders in the country. You will have a say in what the new Dominican government will do going forward. TUD expects that the new Dominican government will satisfy the areas of concern, read the CBI, thus returning dignity and a level of sovereign pride to the Dominican citizenship. Let me end here by reiterating that our efforts should not be spent, our efforts, of course, should be spent on respectful, reasonable, and strategic messaging to the people of Dominica, asking them to return us the political alternative to the office of governance of our country. The bashing, the maiming, the vilification on both sides, that has not worked. We at TUD present a new middle-of-the-road, clean slate political agenda, which is untainted, fresh, serious, and represent the Dominica first principle. In fact, this is why we will establish to bear the Dominica creed of one for each and each for all. Fellow Dominicans, the suffering may endure for a little while, but joy can and will be sorry, I just lost track. Yeah, sorry. Joy can and will be returned to the people when a new team takes over leadership of our country. It would have been great for the parties to have been meeting in a strategic chamber ahead of this public showcase. In doing so, we would have been able to draw a united statement on the serious issues that confront Dominica and our country. But we, of course, stand ready, willing, and able to join any conscious and reasonable effort geared at addressing Dominica's problem. The only way we are going to achieve meaningful political success under the present circumstances is by combining all of our efforts, our skills, all of our best efforts. Let us hope that another and other invitations will follow this one. We are ready to serve. Thanks again, Mr. Boston. Your invitation suggests that some progress is being made. Of course, I'd just like to add here that some of our members will be meeting with members of the U.S. government to discuss the present visa issues. And we'll, of course, report to the Dominican public when this is complete. Thank you, and God bless everyone.
Thank you so much, Mr. Charles. We are. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Charles, and we're so glad to hear your party's position on this issue. And as I said earlier on, it's not only an issue for the government, it's an issue for the people of Dominica, and therefore every Dominican, irrespective of your party, your church, your religion, or whatever, you have a stake in this matter, and you should be interested and ensure that this matter collectively, that we can work to resolve it, because as I said in the opening, that the United States of America, there are those who may not want to travel, that's fine with them, but those who want to travel see the United States as a place for study, a place for vacation, a place to meet with relatives and friends and, and family members and so on. And even some would settle there to work, having done the proper legal requirements and so on. It seems our mic is not working. I don't know what happened there. Yes, I don't know what happened. Volume went. Yeah. He's coming? Yeah, so thank you so much. Our special guest, she will be on in a while. But at this time, I want to invite Jasper Francis, is the leader of United Progressive Party, and of course, he will talk to us about the ramification of the whole issue. Mr. Francis.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Boston. Hi, good evening, everyone. Yeah, we need some fire here. Everybody looks a little bit, had a long day, but nonetheless, we need some energy. Let me say a special good evening to the leaders here on the table, Mr. Bernard Ito, Dr. Thompson Fontaine, and Mr. Carlos. Good evening to you. And good evening to the media houses, MO News, always in the house, DBS, I guess represented by Mr. Matthew Curtis, and I understand DNO. Good evening to you. And good evening to Dominica, wherever you are, whether you're on the social media platform. And for those of you who are here this evening, continue to be patriots, to stand for Dominica. The numbers here this evening may not reflect the seriousness of the issues before us. And that is one of the challenges which we have in the opposition, to get the ordinary persons whom are being affected most by decisions of the government to understand the seriousness, the serious times in which we live. This evening I was asked to present on the ramifications on the United States of America decision to impose visa restrictions on Dominica. And from a commonsensical point of view, everybody would appreciate some of the consequences, because some of you are already feeling the consequences. Now, the US proclamation provides for a 90-day review, 90 days. So there's a possibility after 90 days, the US may decide to withdraw the restriction on access to the United States, remove the visa restriction, or the US may decide to continue. That all depends on whether the United States of America will be satisfied with the reaction of Dominica. As you know, the government of Dominica went into parliament in October of last year to enact legislation that will harmonize the management of the CBI program. And in that new legislation, the government will address several issues that the United States of America has in respect to management of the CBI. One of which is in regards to the fact that we do not have residency requirements now, but the new legislation will provide for that, amongst other things. So time will tell. But in the meanwhile, this situation has caused a lot of anxiety to a number of Dominicans, and we must understand why. We here in Dominica, we are within the neighborhood of the United States of America. We have a history in traveling to and from the United States of America. We have had diplomatic relations with the United States of America. So this situation has several consequences, from a governmental or diplomatic point of view, to social and economic ramifications. So this evening, I want to touch on some of the consequences of the situation. Now, you heard Mr. Gregoire, who came before me, spoke about how did we get here? But the reality is we are here. And we have to confront the challenges that we are facing resulting from the situation. So as far as economic consequences are concerned, you heard Mr. Gregoire talking about the amount of revenue that is generated through the CBI program. Over 60% of government revenue is tapped from the CBI program. Now, with this visa restriction, should this continue, it would mean that our citizenship would become less competitive on the global stage. And as such, the sales of Dominican citizenship will reduce dramatically. Because you must appreciate that a number of persons who obtain a second or third citizenship is for access to the United States of America and Europe. And what the United States has done is to follow from what the United Kingdom has done. As you know, of June of year before, United Kingdom imposed visa restrictions on Dominica. Norway has since imposed restrictions on CBI citizens, those with passports, is the citizenship by investment purchasers, those who obtain passports on Dominica. They are restricted from entering Ireland and Norway. And the EU has imposed, or not imposed, but has issued threats that should we not make certain changes to our CBI program, that likewise will be restricted from having free access. So if that's the case, it means that less revenue will be generated from the CBI program. And that could cause serious economic catastrophe here in Dominica, because public spending depends heavily on the CBI. As we have heard, the Prime Minister and his cabinet has told Dominicans a number of times, if not CBI, then what? In the last 25 years, this government has failed to diversify the economy. We did not learn from the banana industry at a time when we appeared to have been heavily dependent just on banana. We call that monoculture. And you remember the deceased Rizzy Douglas going all over the island, educating us on the reason why we needed to diversify our economy. And one would have thought that this government would have learned so much money from CBI. Yet we do not have the factories. We don't have agro-processing. Our exports have declined. Our imports have increased. Government spending is fueled mainly by CBI. So we are in a very vulnerable situation. And as such, if the situation concerning the visa restriction continues, then we better tie our waist, particularly in the public service. A number of departments will be affected. One, for sure, is the NEP program. It's not an essential service being provided. And maybe it could be one of the first departments to be affected if this were to continue. Of course, another economic consequence is the loss of confidence in our economy. Foreign investors looking into the country, understanding what is happening, and not encouraged to come here to invest. Already, we have limited foreign investment in Dominica. Most of the foreign investments here are associated with the CBI program. So these investors come, they enter into arrangements with the government of Dominica and get CBI-approved projects to build hotels. Kempinski, as an example. But very rarely, an investor looks into Dominica and is satisfied with the economy and he comes in to spend his money. With this visa restriction, it may just make things worse, especially investors who need the United States of America to do business. Even here, local entrepreneurs who have to travel to Miami to purchase their produce to come back to sell, they are being affected by this. So economically, there are serious ramifications, brothers and sisters. Some of us have already started to feel it because there are persons whose US visas expired a few weeks ago, businessmen, and they needed to renew their visas within the first week or 2 weeks in January 2026. But because of the visa restriction, they can't renew their visas. And as such, they are not in a position to go to the United States of America to buy their produce. So this is very serious. And of course, the loss of income in one area naturally will have an adverse multiplier effect on the other. And therefore, we have to be very cognizant and we must pay attention. And all of us definitely would want the US to lift this visa restriction because, as I said, if it continues, it will have a serious economic impact, adverse that is, on our country. Brothers and sisters, there are also social impacts. A lot of us have families in the United States of America. Some of us have families studying in the United States of America. And for those who have children in the United States of America, it may be customary for you to visit your children in the United States. Now, with this visa restriction, if your US visa would have expired, within the next few days, you are not able to renew your US visa to go to the United States. Are we having a problem here? The mic, this one?
Yeah, this one.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Thank you, Carlos. So that is an issue. That is an issue. On the other hand, you have our relatives in the US, or as we say in the diaspora, and they would come home at certain times of the year. Carnival 2026. Some of our relatives who are on working visas or certain types of visas may not want to take the risk to come to Dominica during Carnival. So possibly we may have less visitors, less of our own returning to Dominica. And of course that will affect revenue. Less people means less booking at the hotels, less money for the vendors, less money for the taxi drivers, and we can go on and on and on. So socially, there is an impact on us. Mothers want to see their children, and children want to see their mothers. Therefore, if this persists, this situation in the US visa restriction, families will be affected. Brothers and sisters, there are also medical ramifications. Historically, for many Dominicans who can afford, sometimes we would send our loved ones to the United States of America for specialized medical care in areas such as oncology, because of limited medical facilities or lack of specialties in certain areas. Those of us who can afford would send our relatives to the United States of America. With these visa restrictions, we are now affected. It is not possible to get a visa to send or to take our loved one to the United States of America. And therefore, that is very serious. Brothers and sisters, I'm doing this very quickly because I have limited time. There are also diplomatic consequences. Of course, the Prime Minister conceded that the visa restriction was unexpected. He did not see it coming. Maybe some of us saw it coming. But this has put a diplomatic stain on Dominica. Dominica and Antigua are the only two Eastern Caribbean countries with visa restrictions. And many of us have asked, why Dominica? The answer is in our face. We have been warned, we have been talking about it, but we have a government that seems not to listen to its people. A government that reacts when the people stand. A government that only responds when the public calls on it to respond. We did not have to get there, but we are here. And of course, that situation has left a diplomatic stain on Dominica. Having said that, undoubtedly, Dominica, the integrity of our CBI program has declined. It has been compromised. The integrity of Dominica on the international stage has been compromised. Now, many people are looking at Dominica with questions. Why Dominica? Why not Barbados? Why not Grenada? Grenada has a CBI program. St. Lucia has a CBI program. But why Dominica? Brothers and sisters, all of us know why it is Dominica. So, in the face of this situation, all of us can be affected, especially ordinary people. Most times there is a disaster, the first set of people to suffer are ordinary people, and the last set of people to suffer are ordinary people. Because this situation with the US definitely has cut opportunities for a number of us. So here we are. The question is, what are we going to do? And our fellow leaders will address that issue. But I just want to say to you, brothers and sisters, this is a very serious matter. And tonight will not allow us to go over every aspect or every component concerning the CBI program, concerning the visa restriction, concerning Dominica's decision to accept third-party refugees. And if I'm allowed to take 2 minutes to address the third-party refugee agreement, once again, our government has failed to be transparent and to provide accountability for its action in respect to governance in Dominica. If anything, we can say that this government has been very disrespectful. A government that has been given the mandate to serve us, the people of Dominica, has failed and continues to fail to be transparent. None of us know what is the agreement between Dominica and the United States of America as far as terms and references. Documents of that nature should be public. This is not a national security issue. This is a bilateral agreement which could have serious impact on each and every one of us. The decision to bring third-party refugees will touch all of us. Where we have agreed to bring in people, we don't know who they are, where they are coming from, what language they speak, what economic provisions were made for them, what housing provisions were made for them. Already this country is saddled with limited resources, and we are struggling in many ways. The average Dominican has difficulty in saving funds. The little monies that he has in the bank is being depleted on a daily basis. And instead, this government provides an environment for our growth. it has decided to take in third-party refugees. There are so many questions to ask concerning that argument. But brothers and sisters, I want to leave this podium here tonight by asking you to continue to fight for Dominica. Oftentimes, I myself ask, is it worth it to fight for this country? Is it worth it to fight for people who seem to be in slumber? When you go to public meetings, you seem to be seeing the same faces, the same people, the same patriots. This country belongs to us, and we are going down a precipice. And though we may be few in numbers for now, because a number of Dominicans may be fearful in speaking out, fear of victimization, but for those of us who are prepared to stand, let us continue to stand. The change is coming. The change is coming, brothers and sisters. It must come. We cannot and ought not to allow this government to stay in office when the next general election is due. So brothers and sisters, let us keep going. Let us stay in the struggle. Let us keep fighting. It is worth it to fight for Dominica. I love you and have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Francis. Thank you so much. At this point, I want us to now invite our guest, who is Tamika Jude, is a Dominican attorney, immigration attorney based in the United States. And you've heard her before explaining what the situation is and giving some details on what have happened and the way in which things worked as far as the whole question of the visa restriction is all about. So this time we're going to invite her, and we want to thank her so dearly for accepting to be our guest tonight. Yes, you can go right away, Ms. Tamika.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yes, I was saying I am happy that I was given this opportunity to speak here this evening. I am a U.S. immigration attorney by profession. I am Dominican, born and raised, not an imported Dominican, a real Dominican. And I have seen firsthand the impact that the restrictions have had on Dominicans. Just so that we have a little bit of context here, initially, the United States announced that they were gonna do a visa ban. That happened previously when President Trump was in office, and the ban was removed. Dominica was nowhere on the radar of the list. There was no indication that Dominica would ever be on that list. However, in June of 2025, a list was leaked, and Dominica was on that list. And part of the reasoning on that was that there were some issues with the CBI program. At that time, we were told that there was no truth to that, and I, of course, had to reassure clients and reassure people that Dominica was not on the list, because people were very worried. In December 2025, we unfortunately got the news that Dominica was indeed added to the list with a partial ban. That means that the US has decided that based on the issues that they have identified with the CBI program, they do not trust the Dominican passport. So because of that, they decided that they would put a partial ban. They would not be issuing certain visa types in immigrant visas. The immigrant visas are visas for getting a green card. So an immigrant visa would be like a child filing for a parent filing for a child, spouse filing for another spouse. So those visas, they have said that they are not going to be issuing those to Dominicans. With the previous ban that they had in June of 2025, there was an exception carved for immediate relatives for the immigrant visas. With this new ban, it is stopped. One of the questions I get a lot by people, what if my visa was approved before and my interview is scheduled now? Will I get a visa? The answer is no. Unequivocally, no. There is no having faith. There is no praying to God that they're going to approve you. They are not going to approve you. I have seen enough people go and get denied between January 1st and now to know that that is the reality. With regards to the visitor's visa, if you do the application, you pay the fee, they will give you an interview, but they will ultimately deny you that visa. So it's basically a waste of time and money right now attempting to go to Barbados to get a visitor's visa, a student visa, a J1 visa, because you're not going to get those visas. And that has had an impact on Dominicans. Some people who wanted to go to seek medical attention in the United States have been denied. There are people who already had secured scholarships, placements in schools, already made deposits and everything on school. Their F1 visas, some of them have been denied, and some of them were not even able to go to do the visa interview because they heard that we have this new ban in place for Dominica. So this is very serious. A lot of people are afraid to travel. Even green card holders are afraid of traveling because they're just not sure what will happen if they do. So this is something that affects Dominicans, not only those who are outside of the US, but also those inside of the US. Because many people are afraid to go see their sick parents. They're afraid to go home for carnival. And that is because they are not sure what would happen if they try to enter the United States. There have been Dominicans who have been subject to secondary inspection when they enter the United States. That is where they pull you off from the line and they put you in a room and they question you. Those questions can go anywhere from 5 minutes to 5 hours, sometimes even longer, before they decide whether or not they're going to let you into the country. There have been some Dominicans who have reported that they got in with, minor questions. But one of the major developments we've seen is that before, Dominicans, like everybody else, were basically allowed to stay in the United States up to 180 days, 6 months, when you go on your visitor's visa. Right now, because we're now on this partial ban list, we now only get up to 30 days to remain in the United States. So you can imagine, I recently spoke to an older woman who her daughter had her first child and she had tried to come up to the States to spend, the first 6 months with her daughter to help her take care of a new baby because the daughter is in school. And when she got to the port of entry, she was told that she's only able to stay for 30 days. The officer gave her 30 days. Now we're in the process of trying to get her an extension on her stay. But this is now more money that a Dominican has to spend because of a circumstance that they had no say in. They did not have any hand in what's happening right now. So those are just some of the implications of the partial ban. One of the other things I was asked to speak about was the agreement to take in deportees or refugees. I see the two terms are being used interchangeably, but they're really not the same. However, the government has not necessarily disclosed to Dominicans exactly what is in that agreement. So it's kind of hard to say exactly what is going to happen outside of how it typically works with other countries who have signed similar or the same agreement. But there obviously is some concern as to exactly how Dominica is going to handle this situation in terms of infrastructure, resources, finances. So what I can say about this is there are serious questions that need to be asked and serious questions that need to be answered. However, at this time, until there is some official guidance or until it's released, the only thing I can say is that Dominica has signed some sort of agreement, and there's just not enough clarity right now to say much about it. I did see that the Prime Minister said that we would basically not be receiving criminals. I cannot say much. I mean, there are countries who signed agreements and have stipulated to that, so that is probably what we did too, but outside of that, I cannot say much. I believe I've covered everything in a way that's, I guess, clear enough for everybody to understand. I am here if anybody has any extra questions after the fact, but this is basically, in a nutshell, what the visa restrictions are, the impact it has on Dominicans, and a little bit about the refugee situation.
Thank you so much. We appreciate very much you explaining to us the situation, and one must see it not as really engaging in bashing, in unnecessary criticism, but of course on the facts that exist as far as the restriction and the ban are concerned, and of course the third country deportees that we about to receive at some point or sometime this year. So we thank you so much for this, and we are very much appreciated that as a Dominican, and you made the point that you're not an imported Dominican, you're a Dominican by birth, you raised here, but of course an immigration attorney in the US, and we appreciate that you can take time off to explain to the Dominican people, those here in the conference facility here, conference room, and those, of course, listening on social media and on radio. At this point, we'll invite Bernard Ito, who is the leader of the Dominican Freedom Party, to make a presentation.
Good night, everyone, both in the room and those listening online and in various different media. I know for everyone here, there's probably several dozen online, so we know that we have an audience, whether or not they are physically present. So let's say that I think some protocol has been established in terms of welcoming my fellow panelists, the fellow political leaders, welcoming the media. I think we've established that, and certainly welcoming the Dominicans here in this room. It's all about us and about those online, so welcome. So I was asked to speak a little bit about how did we get here. Well, my brothers and sisters, let me say this. Tonight is not really about politics, as theater. It's about rescue and recovery, right? It's about dignity. It's about a simple question that every Dominican must ask, and that's the question that I said I was asked to address. How did we get here? How? How did we get to a place where our citizens face visa restrictions to the United States? How did we get to a place where our nation is being pressured to accept third country refugees or deportees, it's not even clear, just to regain what was once a matter of trust and respect? How did we get here? How did we get to a place where our passport, that was once a symbol of pride, is now a symbol of suspicion, even derision? How did we get here, my friends? Rest assured, man, we did not get here by accident. We arrived here by what? By choices. bad choices, self-serving choices, reckless choices, short-sighted choices by this government and by the leader of this government. There is no other way to put it. We got here because this government chose cash over character. They chose easy money over doing the hard work of building a nation. They chose selling our sovereignty instead of building our productivity. They chose building a passport mill instead of building an economy rooted in ingenuity, discipline, and honest labor. That is what's going on here, my friends. That is what is going on here. That is what brought us here. A messed up mentality of what it takes to develop a country. A lazy mentality of how to develop a country. Dare I say a greedy mentality on how to develop yourself, not a country. And so now what happens? The bill has come to you, as it was always destined to do, For no country can sell its identity and expect to keep its dignity. No country can treat citizenship like a product and expect that it to be treated as sacred elsewhere. No country can be a market stall and still be respected as a nation, but that is what we have seen happening and what we have tolerated for way too long. We are not a market stall. We are a country with dignity, with a deep history, with a sense of pride, with our sense of our own civilization, what we want to be. That is what we are. This is what this whole thing is about on this island. We've lost sight of that. We have lost sight of what is really important. And it's really sad, It's a really, really sad reality. So, this was going to happen. It was always going to happen. Now, some people will tell you it's about Trump, and it's about Maduro, and it's them man want to oppress us, and blah, blah, blah. There's reality to some of the geopolitics. But the point is, where we are today was always going to happen. It has only been expedited by the current geopolitics. But we were always going to get on somebody's banned list at some point. You cannot sell passport like that and expect that it's not going to backfire at some point. And if it was about Trump, why is the European Union now pondering seriously, in fact drafting legislation to ban our passports in the European Union? It was always going to happen. Don't let them fool you, especially the spin doctors out there that are telling you, well, Trump don't like us. I'm not saying Trump like us, but it was not about that fundamentally. There are many places that Trump doesn't like that still doesn't have the visa ban. So we have to deal with the realities. We have to deal with the realities in front of us because a lot of the things that we're being told is not true. All right, so let's get back to it. Our citizenship should never have been treated that way. It's the bloodline of our ancestors, the inheritance of our children, and the accumulated effort of every Dominican who ever lived and dreamed of a proud independent civilization. So I ask you again, how did we get here? We replaced nation building with cash flows that can be diverted in ways that we cannot account for. We got here because we replaced planning and getting smart, capable people who can do true development. We replaced planning with patchwork. We got here because we stopped asking, is this right for Dominica? And we started asking instead, how much money can we get now? And how much, allegedly, I can siphon off for myself? That is the question, That is the question they started asking instead of saying, is this right for Dominica? And it is for those reasons that today we, ordinary Dominicans, are paying the price. This irresponsible action roosters, as I said, were always destined to come home to roost. Always. And now, to add to our demise, we are now being told that to restore access, we must accept third country refugees or deportees. Let me be clear. Dominica is a compassionate nation. We've always been a compassionate and welcoming nation. We still are. But compassion must never be used as a bargaining chip to fix political recklessness. Do not use this we are compassionate people. I have been online with people who tell me, but Bernard, what about compassion and looking out for the right thing? We are compassionate people. We're not qualified economically, socially, culturally to handle that kind of situation. But you have not got to put upon us this thing about we are compassionate people simply to cover up your recklessness. We are being asked to clean up a mess we did not make. Let's be very clear on this. Have you guys listened to the PM saying, hey, let's come together and unite and trust each other and let's show unity to fix this? But Mr. I've got you. Mr. I've got you. We should not have to pay for your foolish actions, Mr. Prime Minister. You should do the honorable thing and resign over failing in your most basic task. Your most basic task. Your most basic task is to do what? To protect and uplift your citizens. You're failing that miserably. Do the honorable thing. Do not ask us to pay the price for it. So once more, I tell you, how did we get here? We got here because the government deliberately and lazily and uncreatively chose to ignore the fact that a real economy is built on agriculture that feeds and exports, tourism that reflects quality and integrity, education that produces innovators, manufacturing, services, technology, hard work, no shortcuts, ingenuity, creativity, innovation, not dependency. But instead, what were we offered for the past 25 years? And that's another thing they like to talk about. Boy, Mister, give us stability. It is an illusion of stability. Because all we were doing was somehow paying the bills through selling our true wealth, our citizenship to pay the bills. It's an illusion of stability. Stability, allegedly, through selling what should never have been sold. And what happens to all illusions? What happens to all smoke and mirror tricks? They eventually collapse, as they are always destined to do, and as they are collapsing now. So my friends, this is not a policy failure, you know. This is a moral failure, a leadership failure. Leadership is not about how much money you can bring in any way or any fashion. Leadership of a country should be about what kind of country you leave behind. And what kind of country has this current government left behind or is living behind if we do not do something about it? So tonight I ask you, will we continue down the road of expediency or will we return to the road of dignity? Will we remain a nation for sale or become a nation of builders? Nation builders, we should all be. And you should absolutely demand from your leadership and seek in your leadership the character, the quality to build nations, not to build wealth, allegedly for self. And that is what this is about. And that is what I am appealing to us here today. And today should not be the end of things. In fact, it is the beginning of things. It's a beginning, and I think, hopefully, somehow, something good might come out of this when finally we sit down as Dominicans and we take stock of where we are and what is going on. Maybe in the rear view of history, we can look back on this and say, this moment, that was the moment that catalyzed us to be a serious, mature people who intended to build something in this world to be proud of. Maybe this moment had to happen. Maybe this is the plan all along. We had to come here at this juncture in history before we independence as a nation. Let us make that be so. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bernard. Thank you. And you know, how did we get here? and how are we going to get out of it? And, we've always said, that the Citizenship by Investment program started in the 90s during the Freedom Party reign, and the idea was to bring in foreign exchange, economic support, job creation, and to build industries that we could take advantage of the OECS and CARICOM markets at the time. And I remember there was a discussion about our size of our hotels, that we did not have a large enough conference room to accommodate big, conferences and so on. So all that was looked at, and it was changed. And you heard Crispin mention that earlier on, and so forth. Now we went into it where we are now, and there is not the innovation or the creativity to invest in agriculture, in industries and so on. I mean, when Lennox made the point about missing billions or millions, then that's how the housing component came in. So all those who have a house now as a result is because it was disclosed that money was missing. So in all our issues now that we're going through, we cannot look back and say, well, here it is, the CBI has created jobs and grow our economy. So we almost, if you like, stuck in the mud, right? Other countries use a different movement of the CBIs and so on. So this time, let me invite Dr. Thompson Fontaine, the leader of the United Workers' Party, to make a presentation.
Good night to all. Good night. Good night. Earlier this afternoon, I stood in line at I'll just hold this. I stood in line at a supermarket. I was just about probably 2 persons behind the person that was cashing. And I noticed that they were setting aside some of what they had brought in to the counter. And I looked a little bit more closely, and I realized that they were putting aside some cans of sardines and I think it was some carnation or something like that. Probably a person I was thinking of having some warm milk tonight for dinner, but could not. And it occurred to me that I'd seen that before. And it's something that's becoming increasingly prevalent here in Dominica. And if you've not noticed it, you probably would have seen that. These are not persons setting aside expensive bottles of wine, or we're talking about basic items that they could live on. That's happening here in Dominica. So I was talking to someone earlier tonight about it, and they said, but in some supermarkets they literally pay somebody to replace people, the amount of people that are leaving stuff now at the counters, to take it back, to put it on the shelves. I was talking some time ago to a few individuals who are living in some apartments around Dominica as we go across this beautiful country of ours, meeting the Dominican people. And I found out that not only do they still don't own the apartments, but they have been rained upon, literally. People are getting wet in the apartments that were built with CBI money. When you think about what's going on in Dominica, the pain and the suffering that has been visited upon our people. We go around, we talk to our farmers, and they complain that they don't have markets for their produce. They complain that they feel neglected by this government. They are not able to make ends meet. I spoke on Sunday morning to a gentleman who told me that he remembered the days of money meeting money when he had as a farmer. He would be literally making thousands of dollars every 2 weeks. And he says now he is struggling. And he says, bro, I'm tired, I'm leaving. I'm going to Antigua or St. Kitts, anywhere. I just need to get out of this country. And when you think about that in the context of a country that has made hundreds of millions, billions of dollars have been made by this government. And instead of giving decent apartments to the people of Dominica, I know they're not paid for it, but Papa Bonte, give it to them, give them something that they can feel, you know. At least you don't have to get wet at nights. At least provide for the farmers that they can take their produce overseas. You know, we have been buying dash-in across Dominica, or actually mainly in the southeast. And I cannot tell you the number of farmers when I see them, they say, sorry, but it has already turned. The dash-in, I came too late. The dash-in has rotted in the ground already. And when you think that this is a government that has made millions of dollars, billions of dollars, and our people are struggling, mothers have to set aside their milk that they would feed their families with. Now, students that were hoping to go to study to improve their lives can no longer do so, because this government has chosen a path of taking Dominica down a route of destruction, quite frankly. So tonight we have become the laughingstock of many countries. People are wondering, what has these people of Dominica done to deserve the wrath of the United States, to deserve the wrath of the United Kingdom, a country that once considered us one of their best countries in the world. In the early 1900s, before the US acquired the Virgin Islands from Denmark, they considered, in fact, they wanted to annex Dominica to the United States. And there was a big debate in the Dominica Parliament. And Chamberlain, who was the foreign minister at this time, says Dominica should now and forever be British. And a few of the parliamentarians here in our parliament voted not to go with the United States. And when the US could not get their hands on Dominica, they went to purchase the Virgin Islands from Denmark. And that's how St. Croix and Thomas came about. So countries that once talked about Dominica being now and forever British have turned their backs on Dominicans. You now have a long ways to get a passport or a visa to enter Britain. The United States are saying that they do not want, even green card holders may have issues coming to their countries. The Canadians have said the same. The Norwegians are chasing us, any passport wielding Dominican, out of their country. And we're at this point, ladies and gentlemen, quite frankly, because we have a prime minister that could care less about this country. You know, governments, good prime ministers, good presidents, they go to sleep at night thinking, how can I fix my country to make it better for people tomorrow than it was today? What is wrong with our judicial system that I can fix? What is wrong with our social system that I can fix? What is wrong with our wages and salaries and our tax system that I can fix so that the lives of the people can get better? None of that happens with our prime minister. In 2012, I revealed that I had seen, because of my work in the Cayman Islands, I had seen accounts of the prime minister over $10 million. That was in 2010. I went public, I said it all over Dominica, so it's not somebody maybe hearing for the first time. That was 15 years ago. He's moved to acquiring much more than those $10 million in Cayman bank accounts. And we have people going to sleep tonight who, if it rains, will get wet. Something is wrong with this. And yet I get the impression that Dominicans, we are just content to just let that slide. But this is not right. This is not okay. It is not all right that something that could bring so much wealth to this country, something that could help develop this country, something that could help to be invested in manufacturing, in essential oils, in our farmers, in our young people, in our education system, in building this country so that we could earn wealth. Instead, it is now concentrated in the hands of a few individuals, and the majority of Dominicans are catching hell. This is not right. And we are where we are tonight because I put some blame on us, Dominica. We've allowed ourselves to be taken for a ride. Because even today when I talk to Dominicans across this country, some are still making excuses. They are still making excuses for this government. When they heard Honorable Lennox Linton over and over again point to the issues of the CBI, the problems that were there, the monies that was being made. So it's not like they don't know, but they're prepared to give this Prime Minister a pass. Well, we may give him a pass here in Dominica, but the rest of the world is not giving him no pass. But who is suffering at the end of the day? We are the ones who probably will not be able to go see our families in the US. We may not be able to go to a graduation or wedding or even a funeral in the United States. Or if, God forbid, one of our family members falls sick, may not be able to get medical attention in the US. We are the ones that are paying for it. And as I look into 2026, I see more hardships ahead. In 6 months' time, the United States of America will be reviewing this partial visa ban. And we know that they have graduated countries from partial to full, as they did in the case of Ghana. So in 6 months' time, it is likely, or it is possible, I should not say likely, it is possible, that we move from being partially banned to fully banned. Now, what does that mean? And that comes with a special kind of punishment. It goes beyond just persons not being able to travel there. But when for countries that have full travel bans, it normally comes with a warning to Americans: do not travel to those countries. So imagine we are on a full travel ban and Americans are told not to come to Dominica. Well, we could kiss our cruise ship business goodbye. 85% of our stayover visitors are from the United States. So the hotels and the people that work there may be in some difficulty. When I look into 2026, I see the possibility that the European Union, that has been extremely tolerant of us up to now, moving to impose visa restrictions. Well, guess what? 20 miles to our north and 20 miles to our south, we are between two European countries. Countries that we travel to as a matter of form. But it is likely that in 2026, we may need visas to go to Guadeloupe and Martinique. So this is serious. Not only is there physical, personal burden, but it could translate to economic hardships on this country. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we have a country to rescue. We have a country to really deal with this situation. And let me tell you how. The way we deal with the situation that we're in right now is to make sure that at the next general election, the Labour Party of ruthless Skerrit is no more. As simple as that. Now already, and I'll just segue just a little bit from the topic tonight, which is the ban on us. Already, we can see the makings of the stealing of an election by trying to disenfranchise thousands of our voters by saying that they must get a passport. You need a passport to travel. You don't need a passport to confirm your name on the list. Passport is a travel document. So why should you impose a burden on a Dominican who is not going anywhere, and even now, even worse now, they can't go to the United States. They may not be able to travel to the French islands. They already cannot travel to Canada or to England as freely as before. So all of most of the choices have been cut off. And yet you want to impose a burden on they having to get a passport to confirm. Already they're trying to steal that. Yes. But let me just remind the Electoral Commission that they must not disenfranchise any single voter in this country, that they must allow the registration to go forward, the same registration that they have halted illegally because our Constitution and our electoral laws calls for continuous registration. It is a legal right. It is the right of every Dominican having attained the age of 18 to register to vote. That is a right that is enshrined in our Constitution. And the Electoral Commission is doing everything possible to prevent the young people from voting. Because increasingly, the young people of Dominica are saying that they will not support this Labour Party. They will not support the misery under which they have to live every day. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we need to take those matters seriously, because at the end of the day, it impacts every single one of us. At the end of the day, the damage that has been inflicted to our reputation, the damage that has been inflicted to our people, the shame, quite frankly, has come with those bans and all of these different things that are going on, is really hurting this country and is hurting us bad. And so we have to fight back. We have to do what is important. We have to do what is necessary. And as I say, the only solution to our current problems, lack of employment opportunities, problems from countries, the Europeans, the Americans, the Canadians, the Norwegians, name it, putting pressure on us, lack of opportunities for our young people, the increasing crime and violence that we see with young men gunning down each other on street corners, with the failure of this government to tackle the issue of gun violence in this country, the failure to have a professional police force that can deal with the situation of crime by politicizing the police force. Good police officers forced to resign, while mediocre police officers are promoted. We have put ourselves in this situation, and so we need to take ourselves out of this situation. And that's why I would like to appeal to you, let us do the right thing going forward. Let us do the right thing. And I'm speaking tonight, in particular, I want to address the labor rights of this country. I want to address those who are proud to tell me when I talk to them that their labor rights, c'est là, mettez-moi, c'est là où je vais rester. I want to talk specifically to this kind of labor right. And I would say one thing to you. You need to put your country first. It has to be about country. It has to be about putting Dominica first. It cannot be that you put your confidence in a person and at the end of the day, they're working against your best interests in every single way. I mean, one more outrage, one more, just for the heck of it, one more outrage. A prime minister, even as I said, moms and single mothers probably not been able to, probably having budgeted 45 or 50 bucks for groceries. Now it comes to 60, 65, I have to put stuff away. In the same country, at the end of this month, $64,000 will be taken out from the treasury to pay for a house for our prime minister. Ladies and gentlemen, we deserve better in this country. We deserve better. Thank you for coming. A big thank you to my fellow leaders, political leaders here, Joshua Francis, Bernardito, and Mr. Charles, who left. And to all of you for coming here tonight. And I keep looking for the young people. I keep looking for our college students. We have a college here in Dominica, right? A state college. We all thought, I think we all told them one time or the other at his state college. Well, we have kids. I was telling Bernard tonight, when we were going to school, you could not have a forum like this here and we students not come out and listen. What is happening to our young people? I mean, yes, you will get a chance, absolutely.
I know you're person, but I almost young. And I get you, we do attract young people, we do call in for young people to come on board. We don't need room on that table for young people. All they will come there.
Okay. All right. We'll work on that. But thank you for that. All right. So good night and thank you very much, Bosso, and thank you to the RC. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fontaine. And as I said, we'll fix that up, okay? For the young people, we'll fix it up. Okay, we're going to move quickly because we have a few other speakers, brief speakers. So if a few from the diaspora will speak, and we'll have an open mic for a few of you who want to ask questions. So we go straight to Alvin Thomas. Go ahead, Alvin. Alvin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening to the leadership of the Electoral Reform Coalition, the panel, distinguished guests, and my fellow Dominicans. Go ahead. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we're hearing you loud and clear. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening to the leadership of the Electoral Reform Coalition, the panel, distinguished guests, and my fellow Dominicans. I bring you greetings from the Dominican community in the United States. But I also bring you great concern, deep frustration, and a heavy heart. Tonight, I speak not only as an individual, but as a voice for thousands of Dominicans at home and abroad who are hurting, confused, humiliated, and anxious because of what is happening to our people under the U.S. visa restriction, the suspension of visa approval, and the imposition of a visa bond requirement for Dominican citizens. Let me say this clearly. This is not a foreign policy issue. This is not a foreign policy issue. This is a national crisis. The human cost, families have been separated, mothers cannot visit sick children, children cannot see aging parents, grandparents are missing funerals, students are losing opportunities, workers are losing jobs, businesses are losing partners, and our people are living in emotional distress, fear, and uncertainty. In the United States, Dominicans are calling, crying, and asking, what is happening to our country? Why are we being treated like this? Why is Dominica now on the list of problem countries? It is painful, it is embarrassing, and it is also unacceptable. We ask the questions, how did we get there? And we must be honest with ourselves. We did not arrive here by accident. We got here because of weak governance, poor diplomatic judgment, lack of transparency, failure to protect our national reputation, and the steady erosion of institutional credibility. Why a country's electoral system is questioned, when citizenship is sold without adequate safeguards, when foreign relationships are entered without transparency, when accountability is weak, and when democratic norms are undermined, the world notices, and eventually the world responds. So I'm saying therefore that the visa action is not happening in a vacuum. It is a signal, it is a warning, and it is a consequence. Earlier on, we heard from former Ambassador Crispin Gregoire, who outlined the geopolitical element of what's taking place as well. And we cannot lose or not face the fact of the China factor, which I refer to as the elephant in the room. We also cannot ignore the growing discomfort in the international community about Dominica's deep and unbalanced, I repeat, unbalanced dependence on China. Yes, infrastructure is important. Yes, development is necessary. But no nation should mortgage its sovereignty, its diplomacy, or its democratic credibility for buildings and roads. When relationships are not transparent, when debt terms are hidden, when decisions bypass parliament, when citizens are excluded, it raises red flags, not just locally, but globally. And once again, the world is watching. What this means for democracy, let me be very blunt. When citizens cannot travel freely, when families are broken apart, when trust in institutions collapses, when elections are questioned, and when international confidence is lost, democracy itself is in danger. And that is why the work of the Electoral Reform Coalition is not optional. It is essential. It is urgent. It's a national duty. The question being asked tonight, how are we getting out of there? We get out by facing the truth. We get out by reforming our electoral system. We get out by restoring credibility to governance. We get out by demanding transparency. We get out by protecting our sovereignty. We get out by standing up as citizens. I think just yesterday and today, Nasio Funkin called on us to stand up as citizens. Not as red, not as blue, not as green, not as yellow, but as Dominicans at home and abroad. And therefore the call to action to the people of Dominica, this is your country. This is your future. This is your democracy. Do not be silent. Do not be afraid. Do not be divided. Register, reconfirm, engage, participate. Demand better from your politicians and from your government. To the leaders of this nation, I say respectfully but firmly, the world is sending us a message. Our people are paying the price. Our reputation is bleeding. Our families are suffering. Fix this. Reform it now. Engage diplomatically. Protect our citizens. Protect our democracy. You have been charged with these responsibilities. In closing, I say to my fellow Dominicans that I love Dominica. I'm proud to be a Dominican. And I refuse to accept that our people should be treated as second-class citizens in the world because of poor leadership decisions. We deserve dignity. We deserve respect. We deserve democracy. We deserve better. May this moment not be wasted. May this pain not be ignored. May this be the turning point. God bless Dominica and the people of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and may God protect our democracy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alvin Thomas. Thank you so much. We have a few other persons from the diaspora who will speak, and I want to just mention who they are, and they'll go in this order, and it's going to be very brief. Just a brief, intervention. And we have Martin Edwards, Adeline Paul, Dr. Emmanuel Field, Dr. Irvin Andre that is, Dr. Dave Dangleben, Anthony Drago, Bernard Arlene, Gabriel Christian, and they are UK, Canada, United States. So we'll start with Mastin Edwards. So Mastin, go right ahead. And follow Mastin, we'll go with the Adeline Paul and the rest will follow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson Baston. I would like to say a special good evening to the ERC panel, media persons, Dominicans listening at home and abroad. My name is Maslin Edwards. I live in the United States of America with my soul deeply connected to the veins of my beautiful homeland, Dominica. This is the land of my ancestors, my parents that birthed me and grounded me in true principles and values, to be brave, to be strong, and to speak up for what I believe. It is on that premise I accepted the invitation to be part of this forum this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, Dominicans, we are at the crossroads, thrown to a place of despair, where our beautiful Dominica, that land that we love so much, is facing the worst onslaught of dirty politics, corruption, and treasonous leadership. Dominic Kahele and Dominicans are paying for it. Other speakers before me have already elaborated quite explicitly and eloquently. Our Lady of Songs, Ophelia Marie sang, Pa Kiteyo Wa Dominic Hodno. But what are we doing when we are clearly losing Dominica? I wish to make it abundantly clear that I am not coming from a place of spiritual blindness, like those who cannot see, cannot hear, and do not understand. That bow your eyes and close your head is demonic it was a devilish summon to prayer, laced with witchcraft that we have heard in the past and clearly should be rebuked. Today, I come against principalities and powers and wickedness in high places as I stand on this call of action. The recent visa proclamation bans they are already in effect. The embargo of the $5,000, $10,000, or $15,000, the equivalent of 42,000 EC dollars for the application of a visa, which will be imposed subsequently. Dominicans were privileged for decades to walk into the US Embassy with their application in hand and receive an American visa and or green card. And let's not forget, at minimal cost. To digress slightly, I listened to the Prime Minister of Antigua, Gaston Brown, on a live program on Saturday, where he told Antiguans these visa restrictions could be worse and that they have to be thankful for small mercies. So he considers that embargo of 15,000, as much as 15,000 US dollars, as small blessings. That is a clear indicator that our leaders in the Caribbean are either downright wicked or out of touch. I would say another one like Skerrit. So today we are at the crossroads, and Dominicans are affected right across the board. Not only Dominicans who are applying for a visa will be affected, but Dominicans living in the USA as well. And we are also faced with the trepidation since Roosevelt Skerrit, who placed Dominica in the bull's eye of immigration. We all know too well that every green card has an expiration date. And every naturalized citizen has their country of birth written in their American passport. We must ask ourselves, what happened? What is going to happen when those green cards are due for renewal? And what happens to persons who wish to apply for American citizenship for themselves and children? There are serious cause for concern and reasons for a course of action to remove Roosevelt Skerrit from office. And let me explain. In 2017, a team of American journalists investigated Dominica's CBI program, which was aired on CBS 2 60 Minutes. And they stated how dangerous Dominica's CBI program was to the security of the United States of America. They literally accused Roosevelt Skerrit of creating a gaping hole in the security of America, since he provided criminals with Dominica's diplomatic passports to evade US immigration authority. And at that time, when we formed the delegation and went into Washington, D.C., this was the first time we heard of Ali Reza Monfared and N.G. Lapseng. Those were two sanction busters who had been on Interpol's red list, which Roosevelt Skerrit should have known. Out of that delegation spearheaded by Gabriel Christian, and when we discovered at that point the mess that Skerrit had taken Dominica in by way of our sovereign assets and the gravity of the situation. It was at that point we called for Roosevelt Skerrit's resignation. But as we know, world bosses do not resign. They double down. But what I am saying this evening, had he listened, then we would not have been in this situation right now, or that situation would have been averted. Notwithstanding that, he had almost a decade to put proper procedures through transparent policies in place that would enhance proper vetting practices and eliminate the possibilities of selling passports to criminals, some wanted fugitives. Seemingly, our government, the government of Dominica, had their plan, it seems. It appears that they were only motivated by their greed and insatiable appetite for ill-gotten wealth and mystery mansions that their legal government salaries cannot justify. Another thing they did, they ensured that the CBI does not live up to even its own expectations in having the citizens live and invest in Dominica like other CBI programs around the world. What we have and what we have seen are well-oiled machineries of shady deals in shell companies that include construction companies and the building of hotels. Explain to me.
Yes, we are winding down because things are beginning to get a little. The time is against us now. So can you please wind up? Oh man, let her wind up. Let her wind up. Okay, we will invite now Anthony Drago.
Boston, I'm here.
And we just want to say you just have 2 minutes, Anthony, 2 minutes, and then from Anthony we go to Lennon Matthew, 2 minutes as well.
Good evening, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we hear you. Go right ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, those on the panel as well as those in the audience. And good evening to Dominicans, and thank you to the ERC for organizing this forum. I have just a little bit of time, so I will start off by saying two things. Governments are a reflection of its people. Government is not imposed on us from the heaven or from the sky. Governments are a reflection of the people. So what we're saying about the government, we are essentially saying about ourselves, because we are the ones who are tolerating leaders who have no vision, leaders who have no creativity, and they've been at it for 15, 20 years, and we've been tolerating. So what's going on has to sit squarely on our shoulders. The other thing I would say is that the same thinking and habits that got us in this sticky situation cannot get us out of it. And so if we continue to do the same thing we've been doing for the last 20 years, we'll keep getting the same results of the last 20 years. And those results, I mean, is that Dominica has been a failed state on life support for many years now. If it's not for folks in the diaspora saying, oh, barrels and money and giving people top up the electricity and top up their foods and whatever, Dominica would be no more already. Dominicans find themselves having to travel for the most basic health care, for education, any education beyond our secondary or tertiary. We have to go. For food, I spoke about the barrels that come down. Even water, Dominica is importing water, where there's so much of an abundance of water. And so this latest partial ban or restriction on travel is just another example of Dominica being a failed state. And Dominicans have to face that reality and look at it squarely. We don't need everybody on board, because we will never get everybody on board. But there's enough of us who are disgusted by the quality of life that our people are subjected to, that should be able to stand up and to demand and to lead a change so that we can get a better outcome. Last thing I would say is that our objective as a country should be that our people should not have to travel unless they choose to. We should be able to educate our people in Dominica. We should be able to take care, provide health care to our people in Dominica. We definitely should be able to feed our people and to give them water without anybody having to travel if they don't have to travel, if they don't choose to travel. And that's what we're facing. What do we need to do to get Dominica, as we approach 50 years of independence, to be self-sufficient in food, self-sufficient in water, and self-sufficient in basic education and health care and so on. So I thank you so much for the opportunity to make this contribution, and thank everybody who spoke and enlightened us before me. Thank you, Mr. Boston and everybody else.
Thank you, Mr. Drago. Thank you so much. And in interest of time, because time is against us, what we'll do now, we'll take a few comments. Anybody who have comment from the floor, we'll do that. So just show your hand and walk up if you want to make a comment, and we can do that.
Ms. Jude, are you still on? Tika? Ms. Jude? Okay.
I'm here.
My friend received the letter 2 days ago. It read, the Department of State has revoked your B1, B2 visa due to new information received after its issuance. To reestablish your eligibility, you must apply for a new visa. You may schedule an appointment and so on and so forth. It also said you may schedule an appointment here to have your current visa physically cancelled. It came from the Fraud Prevention Unit, U.S. Embassy, Bridgetown, Barbados. So he was wondering if that is legit. And I asked him when is his passport, his visa expiring? He said 2033. He traveled 3 years ago to the United States, and he's not sure what is going on. So can you touch on that?
If it comes from, okay, so the email, have you seen it yourself? Like, do you have it in front of you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm reading it to you now.
Yes, I'm trying to see if it's correct. So at the bottom of the email, it should have like a signature line, and there should be a phone number.
There is a phone number.
There's a phone number?
Yes, there's a phone number.
Okay, is the number 246-227-40000?
Yes.
Okay, that is the actual number to the fraud unit at the U.S. Embassy. It should be coming, if you look at the actual email who it's coming from, it should have Bridgetown at bridgetown.iv or NIV. The fraud unit email, if it's coming from them with their phone number, it is most likely legit. I have seen probably about between 8 to 15 people got that cancellation of their visas, Dominicans, for seemingly, when I spoke to them, none of them had done anything to violate their status. They weren't exactly sure why they were receiving that email, but chances are it is legitimate. They do ask you to come and have them physically cancel the visa. My advice is don't waste your time and your money to go to Barbados for them to stamp a passport visa canceled. It doesn't make sense. If he reapplies for the visa, he's not going to get the visa because there's now a ban in place. So unfortunately, his visa is canceled and there is no way to appeal it because of the principle of consular non-reviewability, meaning you cannot appeal a decision made by the consulate. So if they cancel your visa, you have no way of appealing it. The only thing you can do is apply for another visa, which we know he's not going to get.
Yes. So sorry. Anybody else who want to ask a question or make a comment? Feel free. Jeffrey, I do have no comment. Yeah, we're going to take Lennon, and Lennon will be the last we'll take for tonight because we have to end at a certain time. Go ahead. Lennon, go ahead.
Yes, good evening to you, Bosso, and good evening to the listeners at home and in the diaspora. Just let me know if you guys can hear me.
Yes, we're hearing you. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, hey, so I will be very, very brief, and I'm going to start with a comment the attorney Jude made, and she said earlier in a presentation that there are people who had no bearing on the decisions being made by our government. And as a result, they are now having to suffer the consequences of the decisions that have been made on our behalf in government. And I know that may have flew over a lot of people's head, but I think that summarizes the importance of why we're having this discussion tonight. And the importance of we, the citizens of Dominica, in a democratic society where democracy requires the participation of everybody. And I live in the United States. I've traveled there for school. I am fortunate enough to have had a work experience and gone through the H-1B process. When my passport was stamped and taken from me, nobody asked me whether I was a laborite, a UWPI, Freedomite. As a matter of fact, that is not registered anywhere on any of my documents. The only thing it says is Dominican, nationality Dominican. So when you go to the embassy, nobody asks you which party do you support. Why that is significant? Because I think in the past we have sat by too long, too many times, and not exercised our democratic right to speak out and be a part of the process. And when things are wrong, say they are wrong. The governance, the true democracy doesn't exist without the participation, the active participation of people. And that is important because the majority of people will change direction and change course. And if we don't, then at the end of the day, when one person or a few people make decisions, bad decisions, especially on our behalf, we are all paid to suffer. So we can't now sit there and say we didn't have a part to play, because I've always learned that silence is consent. And if we are silent in the face of injustice, if we are silent in the face of a dictatorship, if we are silent in the face of abuse of our laws, if we are silent in the face of gun violence, if we are silent in the face of young men killing one another, if we are silent in the face of our passport being sold to thieves, rogues, and criminals, if we are silent in the face of one man deciding who to go up for election, if we are silent in the face of our neighbors being abused, if we are silent in the face of evils in society, then we are consenting to the situation. As a result, we all pay the price. So I would just end by saying the Prime Minister made a call for all of us to unite to change the situation, and I would really like us to take him up on that, join together to do the only thing that is important to restore our democracy. And unless we remove the stumbling block through the election process, through the process in our way, then we will not be able to restore Dominica to a place of stability, to a place of respectability, to a place where our citizenship matters, to a place where Dominican nationality means something, not just to us, but to the rest of the world. I thank you for the time, and you guys have a great day.
Thank you so much, Lennon. Thank you. We're trying to pass a hat around for a little contribution because we have some expenses to take care of. So if you don't mind, the hat may pass, and whatever you can throw in it, do that. Thank you so much. At this point, I will call on Crispin Gregoire, who would wind up, and he will speak to a communique that we are preparing to go to authorities in the United States, and their visits that will be made in the future, very soon in the future, to the U.S. from this side of the equation to kind of put our case forward. So Crispin, go right ahead. Crispin? Shall you have him? Go ahead, Crispin.
Ambassador, he may not be on then.
What's that?
I'm not seeing him on the, he may not be on. I'm not seeing him on the,
you're not seeing
on the ledger here.
You're not seeing one on?
He may have dropped out.
Okay. Huh? He's on, so...
he is on. He's on there.
So
he's
go,
on. He's muted, but he's...
So go on, Crispin.
Okay.
Go on.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. He is on, yes. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, go ahead, because we... Okay, okay, we just want to say thank you for coming out, those of you who came to the hall, and of course for those of you who listened via the various media platforms, and of course those of you listening to on the radio, we want to thank you for that. And as I said earlier on, we will prepare a communique, and trips will be made to Washington pretty soon. So our case or our side of the matter will be presented. So we are well connected with a few people, and we'll continue to explore what can be done to get us to get out of there. So again, thank you so much. God bless you all. Have a good night rest, and we'll continue to keep in touch with you. Thank you, MO. Thank you, DNO. Thank you, Q95 FM Radio, Kyrie FM, and DBS who were there with us tonight. So thank you, and God bless everybody.